Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? I hope you guys are doing great. It's morning for me here, so good morning from the East Coast of the United States. I know some of you are tuning in from places where it's evening, so I appreciate you guys staying up to hang out for a little bit. We do have can you guys hear me okay? Let me know in the chat if everything looks okay, if everything sounds okay. That way I can make any modifications if there's any audio issues or anything like that. Just let me know. But there's a form down in the description that will allow you to ask questions. If you click on the form down there, you can actually put a question in. The chat moves really fast, and it's hard for me to keep up with it, so I miss a lot. That's why I do the form and do it that way. Yeah, hi, how you guys doing? There's a lot of people in the chat today. We're moving pretty quickly. So listen, there's been a few changes to Filmora recently. I think you guys have paid attention. It moved up to 9.5, and then immediately they came out with 9.5.1. So they've been repairing some of the glitches they found. They've added a few features in there, and I'm just loving it. I think it's been really powerful and smooth. Sometimes there's been a few versions that have had issues. I know some of you have asked questions along the way. And they keep figuring them out pretty good. Hey Tish, how you doing? Hey Tish, I'm gonna mod you up. You are there. You go. Have a wrench. Good to see you, Tish. So today I want to talk about some of the things that you guys want to have answered. A lot of times we get a lot of questions in the comment section of my videos. I do my best to answer every possible comment that I can. But so it's hard to keep up sometimes, and sometimes I can't give great explanations because I'm trying to explain something that you can't see. So yeah, that's why we do things this way, and hopefully this makes it a little easier. So listen, I know I'm going to get a couple of questions that I always get. We'll roll through those as we get them. There's always questions of things like, hey Daniel, how do I do motion tracking in Filmora 9? That's a common question. Currently, Filmora 9 does not have a motion tracking feature. It has Filmora Pro does, so you have to do all that manually in Filmora 9. I get questions like, how do I get Filmora free? I don't have that for you right now. How do I get rid of the watermark? That's a lot one I get asked a lot. A paid license gets rid of the watermark. Though, you know what? I am in the middle of renegotiating my deal. So my deal, I was the very first brand ambassador for Filmora, the very first one. So I'm the first creator they worked with and said, hey, we'd like to actually sponsor videos consistently on your channel, not just one or two. We'd like to work with you, throughout the year. And that year is actually ending. We've done really well here, thanks to all you guys in the community who've really just helped this channel grow. And we're renegotiating the deal. I think my deal ends in August, the end of August. So in the part of the new deal, I'm going to see if they can throw more perks my way so that we can run more contests on the channel, give away some Filmstocks licenses, give away some Filmora 9 licenses, give away some Filmora Pro licenses, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. It was something I wasn't able to do before, but I'm asking for it now. Doesn't help me, but it helps you guys, and I think it's worth it. So I'll put the thumb screws in and see what I can get you. You know me, my favorite price is free, and my next favorite price after free is cheap. So those two always compete. All right, so listen, I've got let me pull up the Google form here. I've got a form, like I said, down in the description that has questions in it. So if you do have a question, please feel free to ask it down below, and I'll have a better chance of seeing it down there. Let me make sure I have questions here. Okay, let's see. So let me find the form. I should have a screen for this. There we go, perfect. The very first question is from Brothers Melody. Can we make our own effects both in audio and video? Can we make our own effects? It's a good question. You can make effects, but you can't load them in so that when you opened up Filmora, you'd have your own effects up in the effects tab, right? But you can certainly create effects. You can create transitions. A lot of times I do things, I did, if you guys, my latest video, I showed how to do the They Live sunglasses effect, and I had to make my own mask effect to use. So it's something I built and I gave away for free. After the live stream, if you guys haven't gotten it, make sure you go to my most recent video. I gave away this free mask that did you guys see that one? I don't know if you saw it and liked it, but it was like you put on glasses and then the signs changed what was written in the signs. So you can make them, but you have to add them in into tracks, just like you would any other asset. Anything you bring into your project and you're using in your project, I refer to as an asset. It could be anything. It could be a piece of video, an image, a piece of music, an audio clip, a sound effects. So if you bring them in as assets, yes, you can. Let me go right to this next question. What do we have here? Question number 2 is from Miko Animated. Miko, good to see you again. You've been here a few times asking questions. What is the maximum number of layers you can make in Filmora? Currently, I believe it hasn't changed. Last time I knew it was 100. You can have 100 different tracks of audio and video. And I think that's still the case. So up to 100, which is a lot. I can't even imagine. My computer, as much as I built it out, would implode if I put 100 tracks of video and tried to work with it, because that takes a lot of power. Always keep in mind, the more things you add to your project, it's like adding more weight onto a trailer that you're trying to pull. It's harder and harder to pull the more you ask any software, not just Filmora, the more you ask it to do. Next question. The question here is from Mr. Thunder. How do I add text shake effects? It's a little misspelled. Let me see if I can get this. How do I add text shake effect without the RGB separator or motion blur? Oh, okay. And like I'm right to left, is it possible in Filmora9? Yes, it is. So he's asking the shake effect, can I add it? Because when you add the shake effect, let me pull open Filmora here and show you guys what he's asking. This is a really good question. Okay, so here's Filmora. Let me add, I have some clips I brought in here. Let me add this one. Let's keep it at this rate. Okay, so here is just a piece of footage, and if I just play it, you can see it's just a person doing some karate. So if I wanted to add a shake effect, what I would do is I would go up to the upper left, and I would choose the effects tab, and down under, right here, filters, it's the second tab down. You see it says shake, click on shake, and then you have these different shake options, right? So all you do is take one of these, let's go Chaos 1, and let's bring that down. You can either put it above your track or right on top of it and layer it into the track itself. So I've just done that. And as you can see in the upper right, did you see what immediately happened? There's motion blur happening. So this isn't just a shake. This is a full-on, she's shaking. She's like, there's motion blur. It's going crazy. I love this effect. I use it a lot. But there's also, it separates the colors. There's a bit of a chromatic aberration. The way you can control that is double left click on the footage in your timeline so you've selected it. And then once you've selected it, you'll see the extra features open up in the upper left. Did you see what I did there? So I'll hit the OK, but if I double left click, boom, automatically in the upper left, more controls for this piece of footage open up. So in that upper left, let's go to the video tab, the very first tab. That's where I'm at, very first tab, and scroll to the bottom, and it automatically puts a check in the video effects box telling us that we have an effect added to this piece of footage. And when we open up the drop-down menu, here's where we control that motion blur, right? You can control the frequency, how crazy it is. Position X is sort of the left and right. You can see that slide. Position Y is more of the up and down, how much of the up and down shake. And then the Z is the rotation. So it sort of gives it like a rotated thing, and you can control how crazy it shakes it. But right here, you'll see you can turn off the RGB separator so it doesn't do chromatic aberration, and it doesn't blur. And if you dial it back and I hit OK, and I do this again, now it won't be quite as crazy. It'll be like it's shaking, but see, it's not as insane, right? So you can control that down. I do that a lot when I drop something, if I want to have like an explosion effect. This is a really good trick. If you guys ever do any kind of like VFX or explosions, or you're doing anything where you're trying to create action, take your whole footage and don't just have something like in a real world scenario, like if there was someone filming and there was an explosion next to you, that would make you shake and it would shake the camera. So a lot of times I'll do those things where I'm creating an effect, and even though it has nothing to do with the effect, I'm just doing the showing you how to create it and make it look like an explosion. I'll shake the footage too, because it really helps sell it. As if it's really happening. Add a little shake onto it. Or things like when I drop text in and it comes in really fast, I'll shake the screen a little bit. Just little tricks like that. It can really help make your footage seem more realistic and sell the presentation of it, right? Cool. I'm shutting myself off accidentally. I don't mean to do that. Okay, let me see. Screen 2, that's the button I want. Let me go back to the questions. I'll get this figured out yet. Next question is... let's see. From Brutal Technist. Can we make a smooth slow-mo effect in Filmora 9 in 30 frames per second only. Okay, let me explain this. Anybody who's been asking about this, when you say, hey, Daniel, how do I make that buttery smooth slow-mo? Like when you see footage, you slow it way down, and you've seen that. Like it's so smooth and crisp. The way that you accomplish that is by filming. The piece of footage itself has to be at a higher frame rate. Typically 120 or more is the right frame rate to aim for. And the reason being is, like, let's say you slow it down in half. That means your 120 frame rate now comes down to 60. So it's still really crisp, but it's got a higher frame rate and will still look good. If you film something at 30 frames per second and you cut it down in half, slow the speed in half, that means it's now going to move at 15 frames per second, which is so slow that your eye starts to pick up the choppiness of it because it's not smooth, right? So you always want to film at a higher frame rate, 60 at least. 120 is better. And people ask me this all the time. Filmora 9 currently doesn't support 120 frames per second playback. But you can, I've been able to do this, is bring 120 frames per second footage in, cut it in half, and it still shows up as 60. So I've effectively created that super buttery slow-mo, and Filmora can understand the 60. So it's weird, but it does work. Higher frame rate is definitely the way to go. But there's another, I can show you this in real time. Hold on a second. Let me go over here. So here's a perfect example, right? Let me go in the upper right. I'm going to... let me just show you this girl. Okay, so she's doing like karate moves, right? Can you see the motion? See, let me take I got to turn the blur effect off. I had a blur effect on her. I mean, a shake effect. So I need to turn that off over in the video tab on the left. I've unchecked the box. Now it's off. So now this is just the footage. And you see how her foot is already blurry right here? This is not a good piece of footage for trying to do super slow-mo, because once you slow it down, you see the blur. So it was already filmed with a blur in it. And I bet if I go into the upper left and I actually look at let me find that piece of footage. If I right-click on it and I look at the properties, it tells me, let me center. It tells me that this is only at 30 frames per second, 29.97. So that's a perfect example of a piece of footage that does not work well because it was already filmed too slow and the camera didn't capture that buttery, smooth, crisp, every frame looking super, super crisp. Now, let's see. Let me get rid of this one. I think this is a higher, what's the frame rate on this one? Let me see. Whoops. Hold on a second. Let me pull my act together here. Okay, here's another piece of footage. The frame rate is 59.9, so this is 60. So your question was, can you do it in 60? You can if it's crisp. So let me see. Let me pull this one down into my timeline. I'm going to leave it at 1080. So this is a piece of footage that was filmed at a higher frame rate. Higher frame rate means that shutter is opening and closing much quicker, so you don't get as much blur. It tends to be more crisp. Higher resolution helps for that too. It also depends on the way you set your camera for your amount of light coming in and your amount of frame exposures as to the frame rate itself in the camera, and then you set up the f-stop. I don't want to get too deep into camera settings. A lot of you guys are filming from. Let me ask a quick question while I'm finishing this up. In the chat, tell me, are you guys using? Tell me what you're filming with. Name either your mobile device, phone, or a camera. Do you have an actual like mirrorless camera, a DSLR, or a video camcorder? Quickly in the chat, just put like hashtag phone, hashtag camera. I'd like to know what you guys are using to get a better feeling for that. Hey, Leela, I just saw you come in. Good to see you, pal. So let's go back to the full screen here. So this piece of footage is 60 frames per second, so it's better fit for doing slow-mo. And if you look, if I scrub through this, can you see how there's a little bit of blur on the hand, but each frame looks really crisp. So this is a much better piece of footage if I wanted to slow it down and create that slow-mo effect. You can do one of two things. You can right-click on your footage, right? And then right here, you can choose the speed and duration feature, and then you could slow it down, either by dragging the fader, or you can actually type in the number you want. Or another way to do it really quickly is in the timeline section. If you click on your footage in the timeline here and you select it, see this little looks like a little speedometer right here? You click on that, it'll give you some quick speed and duration settings for things like slow and fast. So I can cut it to 0.5, which would be half, and I can chop that right in half. And that's a really quick way to just go, listen, I just want to slow my footage down to half speed, boom, grab that quick shortcut to the speed and duration. I'll process this really quickly, and I'll show you this one slowed down to half speed, and you'll see it automatically looks better. It works better. So 60 you can, 30 really tricky. Full screen. Let me go upper right. So here's that footage at half speed. Do you see how this is a smoother half speed? See how everything's not blurry? It works. And I could probably dial it back a little more. This is at about 30 frames per second now because I've chopped it in half. If I took it down a little bit more, I could get it down to about 24 frames per second, maybe a 40% of the original speed. But as I get lower than that, there's fewer frames per second, and your eye starts picking up the choppiness of that footage being reduced in speed. So there you go. Hey, no spamming the chat, please. If I see you throwing a bunch of comments in there multiple times, either I'm going to toss you or a mod's going to toss you, all right? We've got a questionnaire form. Please ask questions there. And that's how we'll try to handle this. Let me take a look at another question over here. Let's see. Question. The next question. The next question is from Ranjan Chakabrati. I hope you're having a great day. Just asking, can you remove background in Filmora 9? You cannot. We talked about this is called rotoscoping, the ability to carve out around the person and a thing in the foreground and eliminate the background. Currently, you cannot do that in Filmora 9. It doesn't have any intelligent masking or keyframing or motion tracking features where you could find an object and keyframe that mask around it. Filmora Pro, Chien told me that you can. I haven't tried it in Filmora Pro, but he told me that it's possible in Filmora Pro. So I might do a video on that. If it is possible to remove a background in Pro, then I'll show how to do it because I think that question comes up a lot. Not currently in Filmora 9. Let's see. The Vine channel. How can I reduce lags in Filmora 9? Okay, this is a great question. The number one reason, by far, that your Filmora 9 is lagging on you is your computer does not meet or exceed the minimum system requirements. This is super, super important because if anyone is using any kind of software, just because you can download it onto your computer doesn't mean your computer can run it. So make sure you can Google Filmora 9 tech spec, and it'll bring up the website that shows you exactly what you should have, at least for a processor, a graphics card, the amount of RAM, all those things. And the more you exceed, the more you beat those minimum requirements, the better Filmora will run because it has more system resources to run. The next reason you tend to get lag is typically, let me open up Filmora here really quickly. The reason you'll get lag is you don't do things like making sure that your GPU acceleration is enabled. So if I go in the upper left and I click on File and I go down to Preferences, this opens up this here. This starts on the General tab, and on the farthest tab, Performance. See how there's two boxes you can check here? Turn those on. Make sure they're checked. That will give your Filmora 9 the ability to really get the most amount out of your graphics card. If these are grayed out and you cannot click them, that is typically because your graphics card does not meet minimum system requirements, so Filmora cannot interact with it and it can't accelerate using your graphics card. I get that a lot, like that feature doesn't work. And it goes back to the same thing I said. The main reason most people have trouble with Filmora, their system isn't up to spec. So that was the second thing you can do is enable GPU acceleration. The next thing I would tell you to do, let me center. The next thing I would tell you to do, see right here, this proxy files. You can click this and it will automatically make proxy files for, if you're doing like high definition, if you're 1080 or above, you can set it for like 720 and it'll make these smaller files that it works with while you're editing, so that it's not using these heavy, let's say you were editing in 4K or 1080 or 4K, it'll make smaller versions of those files that Filmora will work with while you're editing, and then when you go to export, it reintroduces the full-size file and then does the full version. But while you're sitting there editing, you're not working with these really data-heavy, thick, information-rich files. So that's another great way that you can make sure that you're not getting lag. The other thing is make sure that you have all your drivers up to date. Go to whatever you have for like a CPU, GPU, go to the manufacturer's website. You should be able to find all the updated drivers there. I sometimes do it on older computers. I do it through Windows, and I'll use the Windows system update, driver update for some of the built-in, sometimes you get like built-in NVIDIA ones. But either one of those ways work. Make sure you go through each of these steps. And the very last thing I like to do is when you're running Filmora, I like to use, let me go full screen again. Here's something you can do. Down in your search bar, if you have a problem with Filmora, if it's lagging, if it's crashing, go down into the lower left. Do I have a lower left screen here? I don't know. Yeah, I think I do. Nope, I don't. So down the lower left where the start bar is, right? Click there, and I want you to type in Task Manager. You don't even have to finish typing it in, and it comes up. Open your Task Manager app, and in the very first tab, it says Processes. Let me see if I can bring this a little closer. If you see right here, it will show you what's running. I got Affinity Photo running. I've got a couple tabs of Chrome going on. I've got Task Managers running, my Windows Explorer, and Filmora9, and it shows me the load. See, 2% of my CPU is being used by all these features. 20% of my RAM memory is being used. My disk space is wide open. But the networking, my computers are networked together, and my GPU. So a real easy way to check is if you're running Filmora, let me just run this project, right? Let me go back to the beginning. I'm going to hit play, and let me open up the Task Manager. See, you see how that immediately jumped up and started showing me, oh yeah, I can see that Wondershare is now using more GPU, and then it raised up to like 8%. If you are having problems with Filmora and it's lagging on you, one of the things you can do is open up Task Manager and run it while you're running Filmora. And if you watch your graphics card get blasted out to 100%, you know that your graphics card's not keeping up. If you watch your CPU, your processor get blasted out to 100% and it lags out or way up there, you know that your processor's not doing a good job of handling Filmora and you need to upgrade. You can also see that for your RAM, your memory. Real simple way to figure those things out. Can we go for cracked Filmora? Enough with the cracked Filmora, people. Filmora you can buy right now for under $50 with the discount code. Buy the software. People who want to try to steal software, that's not what we're about around here. A question I get so often, like, how do I get rid of the watermark for free? How do I crack the software? Don't do it. Don't do it. It's stealing, man. I'm not a fan of anyone stealing anything from anybody. I don't like it when people try to steal my videos and put them up on YouTube. I don't like it when people try to steal Filmora because they don't want to pay. So I didn't mean to get on my high horse there, but it's such a silly question. If you like Filmora and you really want to do something great with it, then pay the $50. It's worth it, trust me. Because a license goes for every upgraded version from here to history. Every new update that they put out is included with your license. If you get a lifetime license or if you have an active license, every time they put out a new update with a new fix, something that's, because every version has something they're going to add, a new feature or some bug they fixed, your license covers all that. So you never have to worry about, oh, there's a problem and, you stole the software and, you can't, if you got a problem, whatever, you're stuck with the problem. You never get any of the updates as the software gets better. It's such a great deal. Spend the money, please. There's links in the description below how to get this. I'm going to get another discount code too. I asked Filmora if we get this new deal put together to give me another discount code. So anybody who finds Filmora through my videos, I always put the links in the description. I'm going to get a code that'll get you another like 20% off to make it even cheaper. It's like $69.99. I'm going to try to get it back down into that $50 range. All right. Let me see. Next question. Sorry, I get on a tangent there. It takes. I have a very easygoing guy, but when people always ask me how can I steal this, that's one of those things that just triggers me, man. Just if you really want to grow your channel, man, you got to put a little money into a few things, and editing software is one of them, and building up your computer to be able to run it is another. It's just there's some things you can't get around. You got to spend a little money. Let me see. What do we got here for questions? Let me go over here. Next question is. From Saravia Bros. Saravia Bros. I'm butchering your name. I'm sorry. How to apply slow motion effect? I just showed how to do that. All you got to do is like I just showed here. Is just right click, speed and duration, and then you can slow it right down right here, or you can also go. You can also let me get rid of this, or you can also just select the footage and then over here. On the left, you've got that little shortcut speedometer right here that'll allow you to change the speed and slow it down. Let's see, another question. Let me go over here. Next question is not applicable. How do I edit like a pro in Filmora? Practice, my friend. Practice. I'm not a pro. Every day I work a little harder to learn some new tricks. I try to figure out new things. Practice is all of it. If you can really Hey, Tana So Lit, how you doing, pal? Thank you for the super chat. My pal, my pal Dano, he's got a great channel too. If you're into techno beats, any kind of house beats, created beats, definitely check out my friend Tana So Lit's channel. He does some really great stuff, and he does tech reviews on. Dan, do you have two different channels now, or is it all on one? Because one is a beats channel, because I know you do some. He does some great studio work, and then he also does tech reviews and gear reviews, which is really, really cool. But definitely check out his channel. Let me see. Back to the questions. Number 10. We found Mellow. Hi, magic like Zach King. Don't worry, I'll be doing more Zach King tutorials. I've got a playlist of 3 or 4 already on my channel. KKK technical. That's tricky. That's a lot of Ks. That's a lot of Ks at the wrong time of our history. Maybe lose one of those Ks. Just a suggestion. Can we make an object tracking in Filmora? No, in Filmora Pro, they have motion tracking. In Filmora9, there is no motion tracking. I've covered this in the previous live stream and on my Thor's hammer effect. You can motion track by frame moving that element and making it follow, but there's no current motion tracking feature in Filmora9. Next question. Editsy. How can I edit B-roll in Filmora? Sound. I'm not sure what that question means. How can you edit B-roll with sound? I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if I understand the question completely. B-roll is just when you switch over to another section. I use a lot of B-roll. I use story blocks. A lot of times you guys will see in my videos like footage of like people like, how did Daniel get that footage? Did he go out and film that old man or those kids? Like the one I'm using right here, right? These are all these kids are from. I have a license to story blocks, so when I need footage of like kids or something happening, I can go actually. I pay to license this footage. It's really cheap too. Story blocks, if I don't have it in the description of this video, I'll put it in after on the replay. But it's really cheap. I think it's like $50 a year. It's really affordable. And you get access to all kinds of footage and sounds and images. It's really good. Production Crate is another one too. Obviously, I love Filmstocks, but Filmstocks doesn't have quite as many extra video pieces like this or sound effects. But if you want to edit B-roll, it's just adding things in. Like a lot of times I'll do here. Want to do a hot and fast B-roll edit. Let me do this. Let me record. I'm going to record a voiceover. Do you guys know how to do this? Up in the upper, people ask me, so how do you do a voiceover? In the upper left, if you see right here next to your import window, just to the right, this is how I do all my screen capturing. You can record from your webcam, your PC screen. That's how I do all my screen captures for all of my tutorials using Filmora's built-in screen recorder. But you can also do record a voiceover. If you hit this record a voiceover, then I can just, let me see, hopefully I won't blow up my, I think if I can get this in there, 1, 2, I think I should be able to get, this might give me a little delay. If I get delay, I apologize. Let me record a fast and hot voiceover. Give me a countdown, and then we'll try something like, today I was at the karate dojo watching my karate master kick her way through the entire dojo. All right, so that's just a real hot and fast audio, right? Hit OK, and that audio is now in my, let me go here. That is now in my project. It's now down here in the lower left. And if I play that, let's see if it'll play. Tell me if you guys can hear this. I hope I don't get delay here. Sometimes I do. Let me see if I can get that to play. And actually have you hear it. Today I was at the karate dojo watching my karate master kick her way through the entire dojo. Can you guys hear that at all? Maybe, yes, no? Today I was at the karate dojo watching my karate master kick her way through the entire dojo. So that's just me saying what I just said. But what I would do there for a B-roll section is I'd actually get, like this footage of like this person doing karate. And I'd put that over that, and even though I might be talking, because sometimes you guys know, sometimes I'm talking to the camera, and instead of saying to you, today I was in the dojo watching my karate instructor, kick her way through the dojo, and just talking to you, I might start by saying, today I was in the, my karate studio taking classes, and then switch over to footage of, this person doing karate, and then it makes a ton of sense, because then you get this, then you go, let me get her kicking, like right in there. And so that it gets to that point, and then you would get me talking, but have this B-roll of it actually happening. Watching my karate master kick her way through the entire dojo. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? I don't know if that worked, if you could hear it at all. But that's how you do that. That's how you create that B-roll effect, is just try to figure out how to layer images in with your project to make it more than just talking head. That's one of the biggest things we deal with, is trying to figure out how to create videos that are more interesting than just someone talking into a microphone and staring or just showing one thing. So visual changes and bringing in other elements is a great way to play around with that. And you can bring in sound effects and things too. I do that a lot. I drop sound effects. Let me go to the next question here, if I can find it. Okay, next question is, Talented Boys, how can we make us fly in a video? That's on my list. It's a green screen technique. I've done a few of those. You're basically green screening out everything around you and putting yourself back over another background, which sometimes can be like Superman, like just jumping up. I'll cover that. A lot of people have done it. You know, I get a lot of requests for how do you fly? How do you do like the night crawler portal effect, where, you know, the transportation effect, transport portal kind of, you know, whatever, teleportation. And a lot of these, because a lot of other people have already done them, I like to do something that you haven't seen before, because you can kind of go to any other tutorial and figure it out. I like to show you something like the sunglasses effect that no one else had done. I'm like, well, this is different. I want to add something new that maybe no one else has covered. So I'll always opt for those first. But it's a great question. I'll see if I can get to that. Brian Hugh, how to make 2 videos appear at the same time on your timeline and be able to split and edit both the videos together. That's not too tricky. What you want to do is, if you have, let me do this. If you have 2 pieces of footage, let me take this one, let's keep it there, and this one. So, here's 2 pieces of footage, right? There's a couple things you could do here. Down in your timeline, if you click on one, it's hard to see, but right now I have this guy selected. Let me move him out so you can see. See how he highlights? If I click on the other one, then it switches over and this one's highlighted. And if I switch back, it just gets a little bit of a white line around it. But if you click on one and hold the control key on your keyboard and then click on another, now they're both selected. Now you can do this. If these were both stacked like this, you could go click, make sure they're both selected, right click, and then here it says group. And you can click on group, and now these are grouped together. And even if I go somewhere else and click on something else, whenever I come back and click on either one of these, they'll always be stuck together. So they'll be this way. They're grouped, and you can do that with titles and audio. You can group as many things as you want. So if you're trying to edit things together, you can go, okay, well, I want to put a splice here. It'll ask you to keep the group, right? See, so now these are grouped. And I could put another splice here, and it always asks me, do you want to keep the group or ungroup? I'll keep the group. Now these are all grouped as 4s, but you can ungroup these too. Like I could choose here. I could say this piece I want to ungroup, and this other piece, you know, I can ungroup sections of these. Actually, I should have done that before the split. So if I'm going to split here, you can control some of these ungroupings now, so that these two are now not part of that group, but they're still grouped together. If I split there again, these two are, I can separate them now, but they're still grouped to each other. So that's the easiest way to do that, is use the grouping feature, or just stack them. You know, make sure they're stacked. They don't even have to be grouped, but as long as they're stacked, you can cut right through everything and move them all at the same time. Grouping makes it a little simpler. So I do that feature sometimes because I like grouping. Just makes life a little easier for moving quickly and not having things fall out of sync. I hate when that happens. Next question is from Talented Boys. Did we just have a Talented Boys question? Nope. Maybe you had one earlier. How can we convert a low-quality camera into high-quality? Please teach us. No. These are one of those questions that's really funny. How do I make something that looks like crap look good? Don't. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they start off with problematic footage that's blurry, footage that's grainy, audio that sounds bad, and then they go, how do I fix it in Filmora? You'll never be able to fix that in a way that really looks good. Spend the time. No great creators on YouTube or anywhere start with crappy footage. They don't. They never start with crappy audio. I have entire projects that I've thrown away because the audio wasn't quite right, or the filming just didn't quite come out the way I wanted. I had projects I throw away just because I didn't like the way the editing was going. The video's fine, the audio's fine. I've spent 10 hours on it, and I'll go, I just don't like the way this is working, and I'll scrap the whole project. I've done that dozens of times. Take the time to make sure that your footage looks good and make sure your audio sounds good, all right? silly things. This mic right here, I use a Audio Technica AT2020. It's like I think you can get these now. They were a little more expensive when I got it, but they're under $100. They're like $80, and it's a good sounding mic. But I take the time to learn how to process my audio. I get a good mic preamp, and I learn how to when I'm in Filmora, I make sure that everything sounds good. I use Reaper Digital Audio Workstation outside of Filmora to add a little more compression and EQ onto my mic and make it really sparkle, so it gets that sort of real radio voice. That stuff like that, really important. Lucifer's live. Nice to see you, pal. Hello. So do that. Just make sure there's no good way to fix something that's already broken. You got an uphill battle. Take the time to get the footage right to begin with. Let's see. Next question here. What do we got? From Kaustov, can I edit Photoshop PSD files in Filmora 9? No, you cannot. That's really the answer to that one. Sorry, you cannot. Filmora doesn't support PSD files. How to make that portal effect like Harry Potter? Please, I want to use it in my birthday video coming up on 24th of July. I won't have it done by then. That's 3 days away. And can you look at my videos and help me how to make it better? I do help. I have a channel memberships down below this live stream right now. If you see, it'll probably say like subscribe, and next to that is a join button. That's our channel memberships group. It's $4.99 a month. You can quit at any time. It comes with its own private Facebook group and private live streams where it's just for channel members only, and I pull up channels and we talk about content, and I'll pull up someone's video. I can't take a look at everyone's channel for free. I just can't do it. I get 100 requests a day for that, and that's how I make my money. I do these videos for free and live streams for free, but when creators want help actually going to the next level, that's what my channel memberships is for, and my one-on-one and consulting through my website is for. So if you're interested, become a channel member. You just click that join button if it's available in your area. It's a lot of fun. Tish, who's in the chat moderating, is in our channel memberships group. It's a ton of fun. We cover a lot of channel growth strategies. We talk about if there's editing techniques, if there's something comes down the pipe that's really interesting. Really, really good way to get a little more access to the stuff that I do. Next question is from Simvies. Can we do VFX kind of effects in Filmora? Can we do them? You can't physically create them. I mean, I guess you could create a green screen. So VFX, you could create a green screen by filming yourself in front of a green screen or an object in front of a green screen. But can you do them? It's such a weird question. Like a VFX, the effect that I would think would be like a dinosaur. I don't think you're going to create a dinosaur, in your home on a green screen, There's no magic button in Filmora like give me a dinosaur. But, there are plenty of asset houses like Production Crate. Let me go over here, screen 2. I use Production Crate all the time. Here's Production Crate. Let me give you full screen. Can you see it? So they have this is another one that I think they have a bunch of free effects in here. I've done a video about this, and then they have some that are paid. So you could do something like, dinosaur. Type that in, and you could go to the VFX tab. Let me see. Let me see there. I have to go there first. Okay, so here's perfect, right? Here's all these VFX effects of these dinosaurs. So you could just pick like a velociraptor. He's running across screen. You can download him. I believe there's different forms of download. I think right now, I think they figured out the .movie PNG codec. It has to be this codec or it won't show up in Filmora. Let me try here. If I import from downloads, let me see downloads. I'm looking here. Hold on one second. Where is this? Velociraptor. Okay, so there's a 4K. So I could let me ungroup some of this stuff and have this make sense. Let me see. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of all of that. Let me get rid of all of this. Let me get rid of you. I've got so much pieces of junk up here now. So let me bring down, all right, so Karate Warrior. So here's this VFX right here. I just found this in Production Crate. If I brought that down and put it on top of this piece of footage, right, when you got to this point, because it's a VFX, now it looks like there's a velociraptor running in the background. I'd have to mask her out if I wanted it to run behind her, but I could certainly lock the main footage, click on it up here, and bring it down so it runs in front of her. Let me make it a little bit bigger. I'll put it down in the bottom. Let's have it run across the screen. So see, it has a transparent background, which is cool. So That's one. Let me just render this up quickly. So that's a way to do. That's a VFX. It's like adding a dinosaur. And a lot of these asset houses have these assets. Filmstocks has some. Production Crate is great. Productioncrate.com. I think there is a link down in the description of this live stream. Check out for, because I have an affiliate link I have for them. You can go there and you can. They're another one that's really cheap for a year. I think they're another $50 for a whole year, and you can use everything in their entire collection. But let me go upper right. Okay, so now here's this. Let me go back, right? So here's Karate Girl. Here's my VFX, and the dinosaur's coming through. And she was late on the kick. She was trying to protect herself against a velociraptor. You need to kick earlier. So there's a perfect example of how to add VFX into your project. Get the assets. Don't try to create them yourselves, because those are, digitally done with computers, and they take a lot of time. That's something Filmora9 doesn't do, but you can certainly get those assets very reasonably priced from a lot of different places and work them in, and it works like a charm. Works like a charm. I use those things a lot. Different assets, VFX I'll drop on top. Filmstocks has like a bunch of explosions, cracked glass and stuff. So does Production Crate. I use those all the time. It really steps up the look of your project when you want to add something crazy. Let me go to the next question. I hope that answered that. Let's see. Mike Fonseca, here's his link to his channel. How and with what program do you make your YouTube thumbnails? I do it in Affinity Photo. A lot of people have asked me about that. I've covered Affinity Photo a few times. It's like Photoshop. It's very close to Photoshop, except it doesn't cost the same amount of money. You can buy it. They had it on sale they were giving away 90 days free, and you could buy it for $25 because of the pandemic. And I think they stopped that. It was for most of the, from January on. But it's only like $50 for a lifetime license. I might do a tutorial on that, because I love Affinity Photo. You buy it one time. It's as good as Photoshop. It just doesn't have all the higher tier interaction with 9 other, because Photoshop ties into, every other piece of Adobe software they have, and the cloud stuff. Affinity does some of that, but it's more standalone. You don't have to have 9 other pieces of Adobe software to just use it. It's really good. So I will do a thumbnail. You can do thumbnails in Filmora too. I want to point that out. Let me show you really quickly. If you wanted to, you could do a thumbnail in Filmora. Like, say this was, let me do this. Like, say this is this girl doing a kick, right? Say you wanted this image for your thumbnail. Let me see if I can find a better spot where she looks a little more like she's doing a move. Yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe that's it, right? Maybe that's the move. Now, you could sit here and go, okay, well, I want to create a thumbnail from that image. Okay, is it the way you want it? Does it look like, does that look like the image you want? Maybe she's too small. You say, okay, well, let me do this. I could go right-click on my footage. I could do crop and zoom. I'll choose crop and zoom, and let me bring it in a little bit. Maybe I need her. Maybe I'll put her like right there. Maybe that's where I want to go, right? Or maybe I'll go to the right. Let me go to this side. Let me say, that's what I want, because I might want to put some text. So let me put her right there. I go, okay, I've now cropped her in, so it gives me some room to maybe add some text. And if I wanted to add text in the upper left, I'd go up to the Titles tab, choose a default title, and bring that down, put it on top. And now we're thinking video, but remember, this is just an image when it's staying still. So I could go, okay, well, let me do this. Let me type this, whatever this might be. What might be? Learn karate. Let's say we're doing you're a karate dojo and you're trying to teach people how to do karate. So here's an example. I might put learn karate. I don't like that the white's getting blended in too much. Maybe I would change that to black, or maybe I would add, maybe I'd add a shadow. If you scroll down, you can let me do it here. In the advanced settings, you can use the advanced features, and you can scroll down here, and you can put a text border. That'll make it pop, right? Learn karate. Let's put like a black around it. Learn karate. Now it sticks out a little better. Maybe it needs a little shadow. Here's the shadow feature. I'll go down and hit text shadow. These are the choices of which way you want the shadow to hit. Up more, up to the right, down to the left. Let's go down to the left. And then you can control how far that, if I scroll, let's see how far, see how the shadow's moving away a bit. I've got to, the only problem with that is, see, it's going off the screen a bit, maybe to the right. I'd have to put a space in to make that look better. Let me go here. Nah, I don't like that one. Let me go there. Learn karate. That's the way. So let's bring that in. Let's bring the distance back. and let's bring up the blur of it, and let's take down the opacity so it's not quite so harsh, just to get it to pop a little more, right? And you could go, oh, I get it. I want to do a learn karate. So there's learn karate. Let's say, okay, so now it's got learn karate, and in the upper right. So here's that I've kind of created. Now you could do tons of stuff, right? This is silly right now, but you have an image. But if you have this created, you could add overlays. You could put an arrow. You could change the color of this. But right down here on the right, just underneath it, see that snapshot? If you click on that, it takes a picture of where we're at in our project. So that if you go back into the upper left, let me get rid of this. Do you see right here? This now is a snapshot. That's just a snapshot right here. So this one here is just a snapshot. I've created a thumbnail by taking a picture of that portion. And there it is right there. That's the actual snapshot. And it saves it to your computer. If you want to know where it saves it, up in your under File, Preferences, Folders, and this tells you where, whoops, let me go center. This tells you where everything gets saved. So snapshot files right here. Right now it's being saved to Documents, Wondershare, Filmora9 Snapshot, but I could browse and I could put it right on my desktop so that I could go like, okay, I want that on my desktop and select that folder, and any snapshots I take would then all be saved to my desktop. And that's a quick way to make thumbnails. You can add overlays, you can change the text, you can change your image, you could color correct your image using Filmora's color correct features. So yeah, you can make thumbnails right inside of Filmora. That's actually, it's not the fastest way to do it, but it works. You can get it done without totally reinventing the wheel. Let me grab another question here. Let me find the questionnaire. Right here. Okay, the next question is the Addy Rockstar 567. Can you help out with Zach King Hot Potato video? I'll look that one up. I don't know all of his effects and tricks. There's some I can't do. I know some of his stuff, and some of them are really hard. He's got one where he like paints a ladder on a wall and then climbs up the wall and kicks the ladder, like turns into like a total painting, and then the guy's chasing him and can't climb. He's nuts. But I'll look into that one. I'll see what that one is. I'm going to do more Zach King. I can't do like every day do a Zach King one because not everybody wants that. They want to learn other techniques. But I'm going to mix more of those in. I've had a lot of fun making them. He's fantastic. Let me see. Next question here is B2C Crazy. How to remove Filmora9 trailer from the... That's a watermark question. Any paid license will remove the watermark. Filmora gives you a trial version to see if you like it before you buy it. And it works just like Filmora. It's fully functional, except on the export, they put a watermark because it's a paid software. If you've tried it and I like it, it works pretty well. I exported it and all looked good except for the watermark. I'd like to use the software, buy a license, and the watermark disappears for life if you buy the lifetime individual license. Really good deal. Next question. Let me see. We've got Shubham Pokrel. I don't have any questions, just for fun. All right, my man, having a good day. Ralyam the Pro. Can I make gaming intro with Filmora9, and can you show us how we can make it? Yeah, you can make a gaming intro. My son, people have asked me how to do gaming montages. My son's a gamer. I'm going to have him help me get some footage for me, and I'm gonna do an edit with some of his footage. He's a big Fortnite player. He does a little Call of Duty as well, and there's another one he does too. I can't remember which one. But what I'll do is I'll get him to do get me some good footage because he's really good, and then I'll do a gaming montage, kind of show you how to create some gaming how to put together gaming footage, because a lot of it's pretty simple. It's just putting it together, sometimes getting it to music, figuring out where to cut the clips so that they look good, using some effects to slow things down and make it look really cool, so your gaming footage doesn't just look like, just running through it. So I'll do one of those. I promise. It's on my list. I will do it. I promise. Back to the questions. WJM 2006 says, is there a way of grouping lots of footage together and applying color correction? Yes, you can. The grouping that I showed before is not exactly the same. You can group them. I showed how to group them, but you're asking how to apply color correction to everything. You can't when they're grouped. Here's something we've never talked about. So if you have a bunch of different pieces of footage, right? Let's bring this guy down. Let's bring this thing down. And now we've got three different things, right? If I select all of them, I'm going to click the top one, hit Control, and hold the Control key. Then I'm going to click on the one below it, and then the one below that. They're now all selected. If I right-click anywhere, I can group them. But the minute they're grouped, if I right-click again and try to do anything with them, I can't. I lose, like, I can't crop and zoom them and things like that. As long as they're grouped, I have to ungroup them to do that. As for color correction, I've never tried grouping. Now, see, the color correction features in the upper left are now blank because I've got them all grouped together. So what you'd have to do is down in your timeline is you'd have to click and you'd have to ungroup them. But this is how you do it. Make sure they're not grouped currently. All right. Now they're not grouped, right? Let me just double check. Yep. So now all the options are there. So now they're not grouped. What you'd have to do is choose one. I'm going to choose one. Let me go full screen. Let me choose the bottom piece of footage. I'm going to go to the advanced tab. Oh, sorry. Make sure you know what I'm doing here. I'm going to the bottom piece of footage, and in the upper left, I'm on the color tab. Sometimes, because a lot of times it defaults to the video tab, but you've got video, color correction, and then motion if you wanted to add motion to it. So you click on the color tab, go to the advanced feature, and that'll open up in the middle. And up at the top, instead of preset, go to adjust. And here's all your color correction features. This is where you can change the thresholds, the value, the white balance, temperature, and tint. You can add another LUT in here if you wanted to. Let's say, I'm going to add a cool film LUT. Let's make her kind of blue. The color here, let's bring up the brightness just a tiny bit, but let me back off the exposure. And I'm going to bring up the contrast, but I want it super saturated. And I can go down. This is another question I get asked a lot about how to change the lighting. There's a lighting feature here. I can control the highlights of this footage. I can control the shadows. I can bring some of the darkest darks are getting brought up. I can bring the whites up a bit. I can bring the very blacks up. And this is how you get that. This is how you can control the lighting. If you have a dark piece of footage, you can really get it to brighten up using the light feature. The hue saturation in luminescence this is individual colors, so I can click on blue and just push the blues up or back off the blues, depending on where the hue is. If I pull the saturation and then change to find the blue, I could find that specific blue that's in here and push it a little more. That might be more light blue. Let me see. Yeah, it's light blue. See that pop up and see me pull it back? Because this color that's strong in here, I've been able to find just that light blue band and control it. But then I can do things like, you can add a vignette. But let me say I do all this, right? I hit OK, and I've now applied that to my bottom piece of footage, all right? And you can actually see it if you look. See on the upper, you can actually see like the contrast and saturation up here are already changed because I've changed them in the advanced settings, right? So now it's applied to the bottom one. But if I click on the footage above it, see, now look up in the upper left. See how these are all flat? They're all not moved because I haven't changed that one at all. So what you would do is right-click on the bottom piece of footage, the one I just color corrected. And right here it says Copy Effect. Choose Copy Effect and then go back. Let me click on the next piece of footage, the kid with the sunglasses. Hold Control, and I'm also going to click and select the one above it. You can select as many as you'd like. And then right-click anywhere and put, I just accidentally unselected them. Duh. Right-click in there. And then put Paste Effect right here, Paste Effect. And now what you'll see is if you click on one of those pieces of footage and you look up, see, it's already adjusted. It's now picked up the settings from the bottom piece of footage. If I click on the top piece, also it's picked up those settings. And if I opened up the advanced color correction and went to the adjust, you'll see that all those things are the same. See, there's the cool film LUT has been added to this one. The color and the lights and everything has been, these have all been modified. And all the things I did to the first one are now applied to any other piece that I've copied the effect and pasted it onto. And you can do as many of those as you want. Like if you've got one piece of footage, you nailed it, you got it perfectly color corrected, you can then apply that to everything else in your project without having to do it one by one. That's a really good option. I love that. I love that feature. Next question. Sailor Video Productions. How to do the Avengers Endgame is invisibility effect? I don't know the you mean the invisibility like when they disappear? I actually did a version of that. Look up Avengers Infinity War. I've got that video on my channel, disappearing effect, and I showed how to do that one. Next question. Bycott School. Can we do that Maroon 5 Girls Like You video effect. Yeah, someone asked that last time where he spins and the people change. Is that the one? I think that's the one. It's a masking technique. Every time the person in front goes in front of the camera, they mask out the person in back. It's tricky because you'd have to do it in layers because there's no intelligent masking. We talked about this. There's no rotoscoping in Filmora 9, but you could certainly you could create a mask where, you know, if there's an image in the front and that's you, and one person goes behind you, you could then change the footage so that someone else came off the other side. You could do that. There's a whole camera effect, and it's a little more advanced. So you couldn't pull off that exact effect, but you could replicate it. You could do something very similar. I'll think about trying to cover that in either a future tutorial or live stream. Issa says, can you make custom masks in Filmora? Yes, you can. I actually did a video on this. Did you guys catch the one where I removed the sky? I changed the sky. And I also eliminated an element there was a girl on a beach and I removed her. And the rest of the beach was there. Everything was stuff. Trees were still swaying and the ocean was still, you know, flowing and the waves were crashing and the girl was gone because I masked her out. I'll show you a quick way to do that. Yes, this live stream will be up for replay. Elena Rojo. So let me show you this. Let me show this really quickly. Let me go over to this side. If you are in Filmora, let me get rid of all this stuff. I create a mess when I'm layering everything in here. Let me delete that one. Let me delete that one. So here's this girl, right? If I wanted to do a mask, what I would do is I'd left click to turn on this piece of footage and activate it. And in the upper left, what I could do is I could click on effects. Let me go to the upper left so you can see a little better. And right down here under filters, down under Utility 9, right here. That's where the masks are. This is the image mask, and that's where your mask features are. But what you're asking is, can you create a custom mask? Yes. What you would need to do is find any kind of Photoshop. I use Affinity Photo. Any photo editing software where you can create an image with a transparent mask. That's usually a PNG file that supports that. Let me show you. I'll do one real quick. Let's do this. Let me open up Affinity Photo. So here's Affinity. I'm going to start a new project. I'm going to select, can you guys see this? Let me select, I want it to be 1920 by 1080, so that's full HD, and I need it to be transparent right here, transparent background. Create it. Now I got a transparent screen. Let me go full screen. So here's a transparent full screen, 16 by 9, just like the size of your videos, the way you see on YouTube. And now what I would do is I could go and I'll grab a paintbrush. Black is the color you want. In the upper right, you'll see this is, if you guys use Affinity, this is how you change the colors. You know, it's got black. That's changed you can use the color picker, but that's my paint color right there. So let me go black. I'm going to go to the left side over here. I'm going to grab the paintbrush tool, this one right here. And then I'll just create, you can create any mask, any shape you want. Let me just draw something out. All right, something crazy. I don't even know. What does that look like? That looks like either someone threw up or maybe the dog had an accident on the carpet, but you get the idea, right? So right now I've created this black on transparent background, right? So what you do is export this. I'm going to export this file as a PNG. You have to go out as a PNG file. That keeps the transparency in the background. So I'm going to export this to, I have an untitled one there. I'll put it there. I'll overwrite that one. Yes, overwrite it. And now that's it. I made a mask, right? So now I go to Filmora, and let's say this. Let's say like I said, in the upper left, here's your mask feature under Utilities in the Effects tab. So let's grab that mask and let's drag it down onto your footage, okay? And if you look in the upper right, see it's now applied a round mask. It's a default mask. If I left-click on that footage in my timeline, in the upper left under the Video tab, at the bottom, see there's now a video effects. That's clicked. It's already added. A lot of times that won't be expanded. But if I didn't have any effects added, this would be unticked. The minute I added a mask, it shows up here. Okay? So there's there's the mask you just added. But it's defaulted to this one right here, that circle. To add a custom mask that I just made, see this little, looks like a piece of paper with the corner folded over. It's a file. Click on that. There on desktop is the thing I just saved. Let's choose it and open it. And now if I scroll down at the very end, see right here? Now my mask is in there. Let me go full screen. So if I choose that mask and hit OK, let me double click it. Boom. Now that crazy mask that I just made is applied onto this, okay? Now in the upper left, if I want to, I can do a few things. I can change the position of my custom mask, my custom dog accident mask. That's X is left or right. Here's Y is up and down. I can stretch it and skew it if I want, or I can also invert it. So this tab right here, this means I'll switch it. So instead of showing through everything where I drew the black and blocking the rest, I can do the opposite, and I can mask something out. I do that a lot. I do that a lot when I want to remove something from a piece of footage. I'll mask it out. So there you go, custom mask, nice and easy. You can make anything you want, bring it in, drop it in, and that's how you bring them in and find them. They'll always end up at the very end of your mask section in the video effects tab. Next question. Boy, I made a mockery of that poor girl. Look at it. Looks like a dark storm cloud just came into her life. Sorry, lady. My bad. Let me see what I got for a question here. Let's see. Mr. Rajal Kareem Hassan. Hey, Daniel, how are you? I'm good. I had a question about how to convert 2 or 3 people in the same person in Filmora. Please help. I'm saying, let's see, I'm the person who does not miss some of your videos. Well, I appreciate that. You want to convert 2 or 3 people in the same person in Filmora. Does anyone understand what that means? Convert them, like converge them, you mean? Like merge people together? Like if there were a bunch of people and join them? Like have them all turn into one person? I don't know if that's the right... Ask me that question. Do me a favor, Rajal. Ask me that question in the comments section afterwards, and I'll see if I can follow up better with you to make sure I understood what you were asking and answer it properly. I don't want to just butcher what you were asking. Let's see. I've got Sci3D Gaming. Please make a video explanation of pixelated edges, how to select which area to pixelate. That's trickier. That's trickier to do. That's a new thing that people have been asking about. I've noticed that that's a new, how do we pixelate the edges? You can do a mask. You could do a mask and pixelate the edges. So yeah, you could change. Let me invert. I just changed to a square mask here. And I'm going to invert it so that oops, let me change it again. Let me invert this back the other way. And then I could change on her let me see. I got to think how I could do that. How could I get her to have pixelated edges? I think that you would have, the easiest way to do it is probably blend 2 together. I would mask and then I would do a compositing. Use the compositing feature in the upper left. If you look in the end of the video tab here, there's a compositing feature right here that allows you to blend, and there's different blending options. If you have 2 pieces of footage, you can multiply or color burn. I would probably do it that way and see if I could pixelate the edges that way. If you have an example of that, put it, because this is a question I've been asked, and I don't know that I know exactly. There's something that you've seen that I haven't seen that you're referring to. And I don't know if you're just trying to pixelate the edges of a piece of footage, because I would just layer it in as a mask with another piece of pixelation imagery, like just a static shot of pixelation, and do it that way. But I think there's something specific that you've seen that I haven't. So link it down in the comments after so that I can address that question better, because I'll just hack it trying to do it now. Because some of these ones I don't know what sometimes you guys will see something like on a specific video or a movie or something on TikTok and say, like, Daniel, how do I do this? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. you gotta tell me what that is so I can better understand what it is. Let me see back here. Questions we have. Next question is Sesco RC looking for a new video editor. Through January, Jay Littman found out about Filmora, your very informative channel. My next question, does Filmora have a good screen recorder? Yes, it does. We just covered that. Has a great screen recorder. I love the screen recorder in Filmora 9. Like I said, the screen recorder is, if you open up Filmora, up in the upper left on the main video tab where it says media, this is where you import. And to the right of that, you'll see record. If you click on record PC screen, that will open up. It defaults by closing out. I should point this out. It defaults by closing out Filmora. It's not closed out. It's still here at the bottom, but it minimizes it. But now you'll see that you can see around the edge, I've got this boxed. If I open up, there's a screen recorder. It's down here. It's hidden. But everything's still here. Here's your screen recorder. And it'll record anything you want. If you click on the settings tab here, you can decide the frame rate of it. You can decide the quality, good, better, best. It's like the bit rate, the frame rate. You can go all the way up to 60 frames per second. You can do things like play mouse sounds and have it add a circle wherever you're going. You can also add your webcam into the stream if you have a webcam connected. I'm using mine for streaming right now. And that's how you do it. That's how I film all of my tutorials, and I zoom around the screen and everything. I think as long as you have a good monitor, that's another thing too. Make sure you have a good monitor. Sometimes people go like, how come when you zoom in, it's really crisp, and when I do it, it's not so crisp? Make sure the settings in the built-in screen recorder are set to very high, and make sure you have a good monitor set to a high resolution, because you're capturing the image from your screen. So you want it, if you're trying to capture a high definition, high resolution image, screen capture of a kind of a low res monitor, when you zoom in, you'll start seeing the pixelation. So really try to make sure that you're using like a decent monitor if you do a lot of screen capturing. 1080p or better. 4K would be perfect, but they can get expensive. But 1080 will do it. I screen capture a lot on 1080. It works pretty good. CubeLube, how to fix lighting. I tried, but I cannot. I just showed this quickly. Let me review really quickly for you in case you missed it. But it's super simple. Any piece of footage in your timeline, left click on it in the upper left, choose color, go down to the advanced tab. This is going to open up your advanced color features. And then it starts with preset, but go to adjust and then scroll down right here to what says light. And that will give you all the lighting features where if it's really dark, you can start lightening this footage up all kinds of ways. Change, you can blow this thing out so it looks like it's been shattered with, overexposure. Or you can darken it back up as well. And you're individually controlling the highlights, the shadows, the whites in the shot, right? And the black. So there's like, maybe sometimes you don't want to just lighten it up because it'll blow out the whites, but you can bring up the blacks. Can you see the difference there? Like her uniform, gi is what it's called, is very white. I don't want to add so much white that her gi gets just blown out, but I can bring up the blacks and I can bring up the shadows, and it'll lighten up the whole shot without blowing out the gi. That's one of the best ways. The color correction in Filmora 9 is actually pretty good. I like it. It does good things. I can usually get the look I want using LUTs and advanced color correction. So definitely make sure you understand how to get into the advanced tab and apply those effects. Really makes a big difference. Let me see. Next question. Thank you for that question, CubeLube. That was a really good question. RSR Productions, big fan from India. Please check out my channel. How to shameless self-promotion. If you want me to check out channels and work with me further than beyond what I do here, like I said, channel memberships, down below it says join. Click that. Join. Be a part of the party. We have a lot of good fun in our private group. Let's see. The question is, how do I add freeze frame during a split screen? Good question. Can you please show one of these? Freeze frame during, I don't know if, I've never tried it. Anyone else tried this before? So if you go, what he's asking is, I don't know if you can. He's asking, can I start with a split screen? So let's bring down just a standard split screen. And then we want to add footage into our split screen, which we go to the media tab. And that means we drag to the right and we drop one in here. And let's drop the kid with the glasses in over here. So now we've created our split screen. Can we add a freeze frame? I don't know if we can. I think once it's in here, I don't think we can. I think you would have to do that beforehand. So if you wanted to add a freeze frame, the way you would do it is, let me trash this one out. So I only have this kid in there. Let me undo that. I'll lose the kid. Sorry, kid. It's not your day. I'll take the kid out. What I could do is bring the kid down, right? I could say, let me shrink him down. I don't want this much footage. Let me say he goes this far. He's starting to do this, and he just puts the glasses on, and I want to add a freeze frame. I would right-click on that footage, and I would choose Add a Freeze Frame. Let me go full screen. I can control the length of the freeze frame by left-clicking and holding and dragging it. Maybe I want it to hang there for a minute. He hangs there, and then he does that. So what I would do is I'd bounce that. I would turn off this other thing that I don't need. Let me turn the eyeball off so you can't see this. And then I'd quickly bounce it and say, let me export this as the freeze kid. That's our freeze kid. Let's put him right onto the desktop of this computer so I can find him. Select folder. Let me export him out real quickly. And there's freeze kid, right? So then I would go, okay, I don't need him anymore. Now I want to import. That's a bounce. I'll bring that back in. I'll import from the freeze kid, and now he's here. So now when I go, okay, here's my split screen. I have the colorful thing here on the left, but I wanted the freeze kid to freeze. Now I can, why won't it let, I got it locked. You got to unlock your split screen to be able to drag things into it. Let me see. Why don't you want to move? There you are. Stop. Come on, you want to go. Let me bring you over. There we go. And now I would be able to have both of these things going, and on the upper right, see him freeze? So now he's frozen because I created the freeze in the footage and bounced it, and there's my freeze. So that's the way you do that, is create the freeze section first and then bring that piece of footage into your split screen. And I know it's a little trickier because you're like, oh, it would be nicer if I could see it in real time. But if you set it up and then that's how you do it. That'll work. That'll get you through it. Let me see really quickly over here. Next question. Man, a lot of questions. I'm trying to get to as many as I can. From Christina, how do we make someone's face distorted with a weird voice? Weird voice is easy. Face distorted, not so much. I know some people call it the pinch punch effect or the big head effect. There's the distorted. We don't have that sort of mapping to be able to stretch parts of your video in Filmora9. I think we may be able to pull off a big head, but you'd have to overlay and mask. I may cover that one, but you can't just all of a sudden make someone's face distorted. I did do a PewDiePie effect where it twisted the whole footage, but just the face, we don't have that. The voice technique you can do just by using the audio effects. So if you wanted to distort the voice, let me get rid of everything down here. Let's get you out of here. There's a piece of audio I just recorded. Let me bring, that was me. That was the one I just spoke into I don't know if you could hear it or not. Let me see. That's there. Let me turn that back up. Let me see if you guys can hear this. I don't know if we're getting any delay. Today I was at the karate dojo. Can you hear that one at all, guys? Watching my karate master kick her way through the... If you can hear that, what you could do... Let me turn this down. What you could do is left click on that in your timeline, and in the upper left, you have the options to do things like pitch shift it. You can pitch shift it down, and you could change the EQ to it as well. Let's change the EQ, and let's get let's really freak it out. Let's crank up some of the mid-range in this, and then kill a lot of the highs and see if we can get a sizzle effect. Let me see what that does to it, and it should distort that. Let me see what happens. Karate dojo, watching my karate master kick her way through the entire dojo. See what that did? That's all that did, was I just distorted it by changing the pitch and then cranking up some of the higher frequencies, and that did that distortion. So I don't know if you can hear it as clear as you want. Yes, you can hear it. Perfect. I don't know how. I'm still rebuilding my studio, so some of the levels are off. But yeah, you can distort it that way. I did this thing where do you ever guys see the one I did the audio effects where I made myself sound like Freddie Mercury? I just tripled the tracks, and you can change the pitch as well. Here, let me show you this other trick. So here's this track, right? Let me do this. I added that custom EQ in the upper left. Let's get rid of the EQ. I'm not going to do that. I want to do just note EQ. I'll go back to default. So now it's just pitch shifted down, right? So what I can do is I can actually grab that. I'm going to right click on that on my timeline. I'm going to copy. Let me add a couple of more tracks. And you guys know how to add audio tracks, right? If you go down right here, there's this looks like a bunch of little rectangles. Click on that. You can either just add audio track by clicking add audio track, or open the track manager. And let's say I wanted to add 3 more audio tracks, right? Or 4 more audio tracks. You can actually type in 4 and do it all at once, and you can assign where do you want it. Do you want it below track 1 or above track 1? Let's put it below, right? So now I got the extra audio tracks right here. So what I do is I just right clicked on this and I copied it. Let's go down to the timeline. So now I'm going to bring my playhead back to the beginning, make sure I'm at the start. I'm going to select the next track. You got to do this. This is where the paste will go. I click on right here and see now it's selected. I'll right click and I will choose paste. And now it's put that one in the exact same spot. Let's bring that playhead back again. And then let's select the next track. And I'll put another one. I'll do one more. And I'll paste one right there. Now I got 3. But what I want to do is the first one was pitch shifted. If you look in the upper left, see how I pitch shifted it down 2 cents? It's -2. Let me do this. Let me take this one here, the second track, and in the upper left, let's change it so it's a higher pitch. Maybe, almost 4 cents up. right? And then I'll go back down to the third track, and I'm going to take that one and I'm going to put it back to 0. So let me go in the upper left, and I'm going to put that back to, I'll hit the recycling button and set it for 0. So now I've got one. The top track is, I'll even go down a little more. I'll go like -4. So now I've got one track that's -4 in pitch. I've got one track that's +4 in pitch, give or take, and then one that's all the same. Now what I've done is, let me see if I can get this so you can hear it. Now if I play them all together.
Today I was at the karate dojo watching my karate master kick her way through the entire dojo.
Isn't that crazy? So all I did was, I just layered tracks and I pitch shifted them. So it starts sounding like a chorus of voices. I do this a lot sometimes when I'm trying to pretend I'm someone else. Like if I know you guys all know my voice. So if I want to try to sound like someone else, I'll try to talk with a little different accent and I'll pitch shift it either higher or lower. And it'll change the tonality, change the EQ a little too of my voice. And I'll throw the timing off. I'll grab the track in the timeline and shift it just a bit, right? Like if you shift, grab this and just push the track so it's delayed. This is how you create a delay too. This is the original one, right? The bottom one is not shifted. The top one is shifted a little lower. Watch this one. Stretch that back. And then the middle one's pitch shifted even higher. This will create a delay because they're all the same track now, but they're starting at different times, right? Because I pushed them back. So now all of this will play pitch shifted and delayed. Watch this one.
Today I was at the karate dojo watching my karate master kick her way through the entire dojo.
That's insane. So that's one way you can create like different effects. You can throw them off. You can throw them off just a little too. Sometimes just a tiny bit of delay is perfect. Watch this one. Let me go. Let me put a couple of frames. And let me see what that. Sorry if I have feedback. Let me try this.
Today I was at the dojo watching my karate master kick her way through the entire dojo.
It's just so silly. I do this a lot. I play around all the time with how to layer tracks, just take one audio and do stuff to it. I got a little carried away there. I hope that was interesting. Yeah, you can totally mess with your audio. I do it all the time. Let me just take another question here. So that's one way you can do that, distort, push the EQ way up and change the pitch on them. Player on hold said, can you make a tutorial on how to do the content-aware scale on Filmora9? Content-aware. I bet you this is a TikTok thing, right? I'm not familiar with that one, content-aware. Is that the dancing one where it kind of goes slow and then fast? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I know that one. But I will take a peek and see if I can figure out what that one is. And if I can, I'll try to hit that. Look at out there, man. That's poor Tish trying to go crazy. Tish, anyone who tries to put 900 comments, right click on any one of them. And just put hide user or put in a timeout. If you put them in a timeout, it'll delete every one of those all at once. So you don't have to sit there and do one at a time. I appreciate the effort, my friend. Let me go back to another question. And please don't spam the chat. You know, that doesn't do anything here. You just make it harder for other people who are trying to enjoy it. Let's see. Next question. How do I change the background of a video? That's rotoscoping. We already covered that. Not available in Filmora 9. Cisco RC, can you make one of those editing templates in Filmora 9 or Pro? Editing template. Let's say you want to do a series of like a build series on 10 videos. Can you make a template that has most of the text and the storyline in it? Oh, so that it's there already. So you're asking like, all right, I'm going to make a bunch of videos and I just want to change some of the things in it. Yeah, I've shown this before. You can at any point decide, let's say that this was your video and it had all different things in it. You could just save that project as a project. Anywhere you want, just save the project somewhere and call it your wherever you want to call it, you know, wherever you're going to save to. And then just call it your template or whatever you want to call it. And just save it as your template project. And then it'll always be there so that when you come back, you just pull that same project up and all the text is already in there. You can also, I've talked about this a lot, when you bring in assets, I almost swore assets. When you bring in assets, up in the upper left, you can create folders. So in the upper left, see right down here, you can create, there's these shared media folders. So anything you put in here, if you import something, if there's something you're using, if there's a specific file you use a lot, bring it in. And on that one, you'll always have that, you'll always have that right here ready to use. So when you open up another project, the next time you open it, even though it'll look like this when you come in with nothing attached, like if you don't have anything in it, when you go to the share folder, all of those pieces will be there, right? That'll be there waiting for you. So that on your next project, like a lot of times you've seen me, like I'll have the thing where it says, hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell to be part of the conversation. That's something I built, and it's an asset that's right there in my share folder or my end screen that has where I overlay the things, for the next video up and subscribe. I have all those things in my shared folder, and they're all there. But if you wanted the actual template, you'd build it out, put it in place with the main footage, and then just change the footage, save that project, and then next time just replace the footage with a different piece of footage. That would work. Let's see. Next question. Ashutosh Gupta. Please tell me how to create image mosaic like in Filmora. There's no preset, and I need that on an urgent basis for my project. Please help, sir. I know you're the only one that can help. I'm like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm your only hope. How to do an image mosaic. What you're asking is how to do a bunch of different images, right? I've covered this before. Listen, one of the problems you're going to have, there's no preset image mosaic. There are split screens that you can bring in, and you can do a mosaic like this. Like if you wanted to do a mosaic of 6, bring your split screen down. Let me get rid of these extra tracks. Let me delete the empty tracks. There, now I don't have all these extras. And now from here, you can say, okay, where's my footage? Where's my main? And then I'm going to go, I want, this picture. I want that picture. And then I want this one here. And then I want Karate Dojo. I don't even have enough pieces to fill this right now. And you can move them, right? You can move them around in here. You can always control the size, and you can control the zoom, get them to where you want, right? Let's control the zoom on this kid and bring it out a bit. And you can do this, and that will give you all these pieces that are playing all at once. So, but that's up to 6. If you wanted to do more than 6, what you would have to do is physically bring them down into your timeline. Here's one, here's another piece, here's the karate girl, here, whoops, I just put her on top accidentally, I didn't mean to do that, sorry. And then here's the clothing. So what you could do is resize them. If you look right here, if I start with one, I'll lock the bottom 3, and then I'll click on the top one, and then up in the upper right, I can resize it and go, okay, there's number 1. Okay, I'm going to lock that one. I got it where I want. Let me unlock number 2, click on that, and I will shrink number 2, and I'll put her right there, and I want her to be the same size, so I'll put her like that, and then let me lock her. She's in place. I'm going to go to number 3, right? And then I'm going to click up on the top, and I'm going to shrink, and I'm going to bring that over, and I start creating this mosaic by putting all these pieces together. All right, she's where I want her. Let me put number 4. Let me unlock him. Now I can click on the little kid with the sunglasses, and I'm going to shrink him. I'm going to bring him over. And it's just a matter of resizing till you get them all to the size that you want. And then you've effectively created a mosaic. This is a very hacked mosaic, granted. And you could actually create an overlay. You could go and create a PNG file that actually had, if you actually left spaces, an easier way, let me unlock everybody. If you left spaces, it will default to creating a black line, let me crump that over, in between each one. See how it's black here? That's exactly how it'll export too. So you could I'm using my arrow keys on my keyboard to line these up. You could do it like that. And then when you play, now you've got a mosaic of all these different things happening. Can you see that in the upper right? It ended. Let me go back. So now you've got all these mosaics. So you could put as many as you want and have them play, and you've got them all going on in the upper right. The thing I will warn you about is if you do a mosaic with 40 different things going on, you're running 40 different tracks all at the same time. You are going to put a load on Filmora. You're asking it to play a ton of video all at once. So while that effect will work, it's going to be trickier for you in the long run. Just be careful. Make sure that your computer is up to spec and it can do all that. Quick question in the chat. Daniel, hey, is there a way to create fast proxy files and waiting long one to share Filmora9? But listen, proxy files do not take a long time. Render files do. Proxy files is you just turn them on in the upper left. If you go to the upper left and you click on your preferences, and you click on the Performance tab and turn Proxy files on, it'll do it automatically. I think what you're talking about is render files, which is over on the right. When you've created a project like I have here, this little option right here to render. Render is as fast as how much you have in your project and how strong your computer is. If you've got a slower computer and you've got 90 different tracks in your project and you're trying to render them, there's no way to render them faster because you're asking it to do a lot. It's like asking, hey, can you run twice as fast for me? No, I can only run as fast as I can run. Okay, what if I put myself and two of my friends on your back? Now can you run faster? No, I would run slower because I have more to do. It's harder. That's exactly what happens in Filmora. The more you ask it to do, the slower it's going to get. The bigger the files are, if they're all 4K files as opposed to 1080 files, it's going to be harder. It's going to take longer to render them. If you've got 18 tracks of 4K files as opposed to one track of 1080, the 18 tracks of 4K are going to take longer to render, even if you have a fast computer. So take all of these things and keep them in mind. The more, and it's not just Filmora, any software, the more you ask it to do, the harder it works and the more system resources it's going to use up, okay? So just keep that in mind and know that. That's why a lot of times I talk about bouncing. If I have a bunch of stuff that's done, like I know this is the effect, I've got the color correction done, I've got it all set up. Instead of having Filmora constantly have to read the color correction, I'll take the piece of footage and bounce it out and bring it back in, all color corrected with the transitions and zooms on it, like if I've done all my zooming around, and bring it back in as one file instead of it being a file with a bunch of edits, and Filmora, every time I play, has to read all those edits. Bounce it out, bring it back in. Now I've lightened the load. I've made it lighter and easier for Filmora to move forward, and then anything I add onto it will render faster because I'm not constantly re-rendering all that stuff. Make sense? Let me see. Next question here. Let me get back to some of the questions from the actual questionnaire. Next one I got here is, let's see, TKK1, YouTube. I'm really curious if it's possible to add a glowing line out effect. I think you're talking about the scribble effect. We've talked about this one before. I get this question a lot. There's no current keyframing or motion tracking. You could probably create the glowing line a bit, but to have it follow, you'd have to manually keyframe it. So you can do it, and I might do a video on it just to show you guys how hard it is, but it's better served by some other software that has motion tracking where you can easily have the line kind of follow the person, or keyframe the motion where you say, hey, line, I need you to start here and then bend over up to here, because right now, Filmora9 doesn't have video keyframing, only audio. But the Filmora Pro does have some more advanced video keyframing features. So the answer is maybe. Maybe. You could do it, but it'd be tricky. Wow. Moo Cow Cool. Great name. Can you make pictures with Filmora like thumbnails? I just showed how to do that. If you missed it, scroll back to the beginning. I went through how to capture a snapshot of anything going on in your project and use it as a thumbnail. You can add as many layers as you want. So yeah, I might do a tutorial on that, showing you how to make thumbnails with Filmora and maybe try to make a cool thumbnail just to see if I can pull one off. I've never really done it because I usually use Affinity Photo. It's got more depth. I can really control the look of my thumbnails because they're really important to me. If Filmora is more of a video editor, not a photo editor, but you could do it. You could pull something off like I showed. Yeah, scroll back on the replay. You'll see that I talked about that. Silver Beach says, how do they make the lightsaber effect in Filmora? You can't really do it the same thing because you'd like, say you had a stick and you're like, I'm going to turn this into a lightsaber in post. I'm just going to a metal rod and I'm going to turn it into a lightsaber. You have to be able to overlay that and motion track it so it follows. And right now, Filmora9 doesn't have any keyframing or motion tracking, so you'd be having to cut every frame and trying to get that to fit and overlay in the right spot. The Filmora channel themselves did a Star Wars parody where they actually did a quick little lightsaber sequence, but they had to do it frame by frame. So right now, it's tricky to do in Filmora9. I get these questions a lot. People want the Filmora to do these super advanced things. And while some things we can replicate, some we can't because those features don't exist right now, and that's one of them. Maybe I'll do a hack someday just to show you how hard it is frame by frame, just so you know. So if anyone asks, I can say, yeah, I got a video on that. It shows you exactly how to do it. But I try to warn people, have the right tool for the job. If you're trying to do, like if you're making a lot of Star Wars content and you're going to be making a lot of lightsaber effects, Filmora9 is probably not the software for you because if it's really hard to do that effect. And if you're doing a lot of it, then it doesn't make sense to have the wrong tool, right? It's like trying to hammer a nail and you've got a screwdriver. or trying to put in a screw and you've got a hammer, right? You always make sure you got the right tool. So if you need something that does certain things for your video edits, then find the software that works. And if Filmora is that software, great. If Filmora Pro is that software, great. But if they don't do what you want, then go look at an Adobe Premiere Pro. Go look at a DaVinci Resolve, something that has some other features. They're more expensive and they'll use up more system resources, but they may have the features you want, and that'll help you make the decision because you go, yeah, I really need those effects. I don't do a lot of Lightsaber stuff. I don't need that, so Filmora9 works for me. Another question here, quickly. 43, man, a lot of questions. Lobo Guarana, is it possible to do a custom path motion animation with photo? That's the same thing. You're asking keyframing. Can I get something to move across my screen custom? You can, but you have to keyframe it manually. That's what you're asking, right? On this picture of this, let me get this, let me get this guy, this poor little kid back up. I've been murdering him, putting him everywhere. Here's this kid. And if you wanted to do a custom, you don't want to use one of the motions built in. Like say you said titles, you brought down a default title, and the title you wrote was, let me left click on that, and in the upper left, I'm going to change the text to say keyframe, right? And you're saying what I would like is for this keyframe, I want this to start, like there are some preset motions. So in the upper left, you could click on animation, and there's some like motions here that will have it come in and move out. But if you want a custom one, and this is what you're asking, like controllable keyframe, what you'd have to do is you'd have to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I want this to start over here. I'm going to stretch this all the way out, and you'd have to go one at a time down in your timeline. You'd have to slice, let me block the main footage, slice this right here, right? And then full screen. All I'm going to do is left click on the second section, and I'll use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I'll push it over a few frames. And then I'd have to do the next frame, slice it, do the same thing, select it, and then use the arrow key to push it over a few more frames. And you can count the frames. You could say, like, I want it to move, 6 frames every time. And this is how you would actually have to create that motion. It's not super effective. And then when you went back and played it, you'd notice that when you that keyframe started to move with your motion that you created. It's just not a great way to do it. I'm hoping that they introduce a keyframe feature. So a lot of times when people ask me that question, yes, it can be done, but it's another one that right now they don't have keyframing in Filmora 9. They do in Filmora Pro. So Filmora Pro, if that's something you need a lot, it would be better to get Filmora Pro because it would do the thing you needed. Let's see, next question. I've got one from LA Kitty. Can I attach text to the ground with a moving camera in Filmora? Can I attach text to the ground with a moving camera in Filmora? I don't know what that means. Attach. Paul Peck, good to see you, my friend. Let's see. Let's see. Maxwell Entertainment. Good to see you, pal. Can you attach text to the ground? I don't know what that means. Can you lock it in place so that the camera moves? So that the camera is, I don't know if it's the same thing. You're asking the reverse process of keyframing. So what you're asking instead is, can you lock it to the ground? I think what you're saying is like, let me try this a different way. That's a really weird question. Could you basically like have the text stay dead center, like on the kid's nose if the frame was moving? Yeah, every time the frame moved, you'd have to do the same thing, slice your footage and move the text over so it was back on top of his nose. So it's like a reverse process of what we did. The frame is moving, but then you'd have to make sure that you're keyframing manually, the text so it all stays in the same spot. I think that's what you're asking. If I got it wrong, hit me in the comments and ask me again. It's just me. How to do a smooth slow-mo. We already covered that. Karen, do you ever regret your choice of creating Filmora? Do I ever regret my choice of creating Filmora? I don't, because I didn't create Filmora. I'm just a creator. Filmora is not my product. I just use it. Do I regret using Filmora? No, man. I've got a fairly successful YouTube channel that was all based around a lot of Filmora content, so I don't regret it. I like it. I like Filmora. It's really funny. I always say to people that I can never get it through everyone's head that sometimes people think they buy Filmora for $50 or $70 and they go, all right, now I want to make the next Return of the Jedi film with it. And I tell them, like, this may not be the software for you. If you want to do YouTube videos and you've got specific things that you want to make that Filmora can do, then yeah, use Filmora. But if you're looking to make like the next horror film and put it out in the movie theaters, Filmora is probably not. You could do some things with it, but doing like high-end special effects science fiction stuff would be tricky. It'd be tricky. So get something that does that better. Super slow-mo in Filmora. We already talked about that. Definitely check the replay on that, Marcel. You can. You just have to know the technique to do it. Do I regret your choice of creating Filmora? I'm going to remember that one. Mr. Spider, how to create magic trick like jumping into the laptop like Zach King. Yeah, a lot of times that's done with things like, I've done a bunch of Zach King so far. Zach King has two real tricks that he does, and it's fast cutting, which you go from one scene, you keep yourself in the same position, but you change something like change your shirt and then get back in the same position and then fast cut to it, right? You just boom, boom, and it looks like you've done a change. And the other trick he does a lot is masking, where he'll mask something out where he looks like I did it with like poorly, it's stuff like, quick changes. Like I masked the egg going, I bounced a ping pong ball and it went into a pan and turned into a fried egg. I just masked it. There was two things going on and I masked them together so it looked like it was one motion. Kinda, I did an all right job. It wasn't the best, but it worked out. So that's the two tricks. So can you do like jumping into a laptop? Yeah, but you'd have to make sure that you could film yourself on a green screen and shrink yourself down a little bit so that when you put yourself in, you could actually control that motion. You could do it. Those things you can pull off. Let's see, Clash Gaming, Dan, the clone effect. Trio clone effect, 3 people. Yeah, I've showed how to do this. Make sure you check my channel. Just look up a cloning effect. It's really easy. You can clone as many people as you want. The more you get, the trickier it is because when you start overlapping them, it's hard. You can't like carve a shoulder and have the one right behind. It's a lot of intelligent masking that's tricky. But you can split screen and mask and put several people together. I did it on my the audio effects where I made myself sound like Freddie Mercury. I put 3 of me. It's pretty easy to do. I've got that on my channel. Definitely take a peek. Just type in. Oh, that's another thing you guys need to be aware of. Whenever you want to see if I've done something on my channel, I tell those people all the time, go to my channel, right? This is a real easy way to get answers. Go to my channel. When you're on my channel, right here, on the right here, see right here, right below, it's got this little magnifying glass. It's a search bar. Type there, and if you wanted to know if I know, has Danny done anything on, Danny, I call myself Danny. I haven't done that in a long time. Has Dan done anything on cloning, a clone effect? What you can do is hit that, right? And immediately what it'll do is it'll pull up anything where I have the word clone or anything in there. There it is right there. And you go, oh, there's his effect. Yeah, that's how he did clone. That's how Daniel did that one. What if we did, if you guys all start calling me Danny, I'm going to kill everyone. I'm going to warn you now. Only my dad calls me Danny. I actually don't care which. I don't care what you call me. Daniel's easy because the people remember it. What was I talking about? All right. So yeah, when you use when you're looking for stuff on my channel, just use that bar, man. Yeah, search in. If you're like, man, has Daniel done anything on like a zoom effect? Type in the word zoom, hit enter, and then see what shows up. And you're gonna find pan and zoom effects, dolly zoom, iZoom, infinite zoom. This is one of the easiest things. Use my channel like a library. I've got enough videos there now that if you use the search feature within the channel, a lot of times you can find those answers instead of like, Daniel, do you have anything on this? I don't know. That's the easiest way. It'll pop something up real quickly for you. Because I have like 140 videos on the channel now. There's enough there that it's tough to just kind of scroll and look and find it. So use the search feature. Let me quickly go to the next question here. I'm trying to get through as many as I can. Let me close out my channel. Let me get back to story blocks, untitled form. Boom. There we go. Next question here is Hacker here. Hey, Daniel, do you know how to use Filmora or something else? Hey, do you only know how to use Filmora or something else? I started like a lot of you guys. I started with like Windows Movie Maker, and then I moved up to Lightworks, which was, they've used that. It's been around for a long time. Used to make a lot of motion pictures. It's a lot of newer video editing software was based on how Lightworks was built. So it's very familiar to anyone who's used Adobe Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve or Filmora Pro. But it was somewhat limited. There was newer features they didn't incorporate quickly enough for me. So then I went over to, I used Blender for a while, which is more like it for animation. You can do 3D animation. And then I came to Filmora, and I stuck. The minute I started using Filmora9, I was like, this is perfect. It was just so intuitive and worked quickly. I am using, I've been playing with Video Leap on mobile because I think on mobile it's good. It's got a great mobile app. It's got keyframes and stuff that you can use, which is awesome. So those are the ones I've been using outside of Filmora. Filmora is my main one. Filmora Pro is my second one that I use when I want to do keyframing and motion tracking and stuff. But yeah, that's about it. We should all have a challenge where who can make the best video using Windows Movie Maker. You have to find the old patch and put it back in. That was the old days. The old days. Let's see. What do we got here? Mohammed Sear. Daniel, please tell me how I can make a dynamic thumbnail and cover photo. We talked about that a few times in here. Scroll back. I actually showed how to do a thumbnail really quickly and create layers and make a snapshot. The channel art is, there's a template for that. How about this? I'll do a video that shows you how to use Filmora to create channel art and a thumbnail for YouTube. All right, I'll do all one video, and I'll do it quickly to show you how you can do both things and find the features and know the templates so that they fit right on YouTube. All right, I promise I'll do that. I'll put it right on my list. Let's see. M. Amen X. Hey, Daniel, how can I change my voice to other people's voices? I was talking about that earlier. You can scroll back if you're watching the replay. You can pitch shift and you can change the EQ. You can't I can't turn myself into Morgan Freeman. That would be awesome because I would in a heartbeat. I would be Morgan Freeman all day long. But you can shift it and make it sound a little different. Pitch shift is a great one. It makes you sound like the higher pitch makes you have a higher voice, and lower pitch makes you sound like a kind of a really deep voice. That's the best way to do it. And then the EQ helps too. Let's see, Crush Ninch. How to make flying in air effect. Already talked about that one. Jameel, why is my beat detection not accurate? Please help me. That's a good question. One thing I want to talk about is if you're using, this is one of the biggest things. Beat detection works. That beat detection feature in Filmora works. But if you're using a song that doesn't have a solid beat, it's harder for the beat detection to find it. Also, if you're using a computer that's older and slower and is barely meeting the system specs or is below the minimum system requirements, beat detection uses a ton of memory, and it's going to take longer for it to actually process, and sometimes it fails. Sometimes it says, I can't do it, because your system bogs down in it, and it basically loses its connection, or it loses the ability to track that song. So it does work. I have never found a song that I couldn't beat detect, but I run a pretty solid system that can handle those features. So make sure you have a song that actually has a beat. Like if you have something that's just flutes or guitars that are going in out and doesn't have a solid beat, it'll have trouble detecting it. And if your system is too close to the minimum specs or below it, it'll also have problems. Next question. Let me see where I can get here. I'm trying to get through as many as I can, I promise. Let's see. Mac9. Will Filmora 9 add a feature where you can slow down footage with deceleration? You're talking about speed ramping in the truest sense. I get yelled at that. What he's talking about is he wants to use time mapping, meaning if he has a piece of footage that's moving at normal speed and he wants it to be at half speed, he's asking, is there any way to get it so that step by step it doesn't go just fast to slow? Can it go like a ramp, a true ramp, where it slows down to the slower speed? The way you'd have to do that is go into the same thing we've talked about. It's a keyframe motion. Let me get rid of all this junk on top. Let me get rid of the titles. Well, let's say this kid is moving right at this speed, right? I'm going to pull this out frame by frame. I would, right here, I would slice the footage, okay? And I would right-click on the next piece of footage, the second half. I'm going to right-click on that. I'm going to choose speed and duration, and it's at 1. If you look right here, it's set for 1. 1 is full speed. 1 times the normal speed is full speed. So I could go, okay, let me do this. I'm going to go 0.9. That's 1 step slower. Okay. And then I could go 1 frame forward, slice it again. Whoops. Can't even see. 1 frame forward, slice it forward, slice it again. Right-click, choose speed and duration again. And then the next one, I'm going to say, okay, now I want this to be 0.8. 0.8. We'll do the same thing. Okay. Boom. And now that's 0.8. Then I go a frame closer, and you can do this you could do 0.9, 0.89, 0.88. And what you're basically doing is you're keyframing the speed ramp. You're creating a speed ramp by keyframing it slower and slower. Here I'll go 0.7. You get the hint of what I did, right? So I just keep keyframing that down, until it gets to the point where I'm at the speed that I wanted to be at, which, let me do this really quickly. Speed and duration, that's at 0.7. I'll go 0.6. Okay, I'll go one more frame forward. And this is a really hackneyed fast one. You'd have to put more frames will make this be smoother. It would be a smoother actual speed ramp, 0.5. So then what I've done is technically I've slowed this footage down by taking individual frames, and instead of going right from full speed to half speed, I cut frames and I slowed them down incrementally. And what that does is it'll create, you won't be able to see it too well here, but it'll create like this. Let me see how I can get this so you can kind of see it. What it'll do is it'll create a bit of a ramp here where it goes, zoom, and then he's at half speed. And that's how you do it. It's not the best way to create a true map, but you can do it frame by frame and incrementally drop the speed and duration, and that will create, technically create a time map for you. One more question here. Let's see. Sev Kuragu, is there a way to make specific mask of clips? We've covered masking pretty intently. You can make custom masks. I've covered in Remove the Sky how to make literally outline and trace. You can't rotoscope. People keep asking me if you're talking about like masking, like you're in the front of a city street and you want to take everything out in the background as you're walking around. No, you can't do that. That's something that Filmora9 doesn't have features to accomplish presently. Who knows? Maybe in the future. Who knows what will happen? Hensu, hi, I'm new to Filmora and I was wondering how to crop and zoom in. Nice and easy. Good question, my friend. Crop and zoom in is done by take your footage, wherever you are in your timeline, whatever piece. Let's start with this very first piece. I'll go here. You want to right click on that footage. And then what you'll see is this option here for crop and zoom. It's right here. After you right click this menu, click on crop and zoom. This will show up. Oh, if I can hit it right. Crop and zoom. This box will show up. And in the upper, it'll start with crop, and in the upper left, it says pan and zoom. And there's two boxes. We're currently starting on full screen. And then you'll see there's another orange box that says end right at the bottom here. If you click in that box, it activates it. And right now, this will pan from full screen down to here. So if you can change the sizes of these boxes like this and go, I don't want it to crop into his face that tight. I want it that tight. And then just choose OK. And then what happens is as it plays this clip from start to beginning, to just for this clip, because we've only applied it to this clip, it will then zoom into his face. And then, because I don't have these other ones zoomed in, it'll do whatever they did. But for that one piece of footage, there's your crop and zoom. It'll zoom in. And you can pan, you can crop. However you set those boxes is you're basically saying your footage is this much. And then where you want it to, you can start in close and then go out. I had someone ask me a question the other day, say, hey, Daniel, I'm trying to figure out how to pan across my footage. And I went, oh, no problem. Just make your boxes the same size. And he said, no, I tried that, but I'm trying to do it with full screen. I don't want it to be smaller than the original screen. So he was trying to take the full image and pan to something that didn't exist. I was like, I don't think I explained it to him like, you can't pan to something that you haven't filmed. Like I can't show you what's right where my hand is right here because it's not on film. I can't pan to it. So you always have to work within the frame, right? So if I was working with this image, I could pan into zoom into the guitar and use a smaller box and then have the second box be on top of my face. So it could start on the guitar, come across and then end up on my face. But I can only work within the footage I already have. Let's see. Let me see if I can find another question in here. We'll quickly get you. I'm trying to get these answers done. So many great questions. Lobo Grana, you already asked one. I'm going to skip past you. MP Gamer, best hardware for Filmora. System specs. Make sure you go on to. Let me see full screen. Let me go on to. If you were in Google, the best way to figure out what you need is put in Filmora9 tech specs. And well, not Gilmora9, and what it'll do is you'll find right here system requirements. It'll show you. Whoops. Upper left. It'll show you right here. You can click on this link. It shows you right here everything you need for either Mac or PC. If you click on it, it'll actually take you. This one right here is actually the link for it. Filmora9 tech specs is right there, and this will tell you everything you need to have for your PC, and here's the Mac version right here. You click on that, it'll tell you where Mac is, and it'll let you know the minimum. So that'll be the minimum requirements. You want to make sure that everything in your system meets those requirements at least, and then any steps higher that you can purchase a better processor above that or a better graphics card above that. It'll only make the software perform better especially when you're running like 4K footage or get a lot of tracks in your project. Let me grab this again. Question, Daniel. Question, where are you? So many things going on. MP Gamer. Let me see. Danny Hatcher, my pal Danny. Just wondering how you negotiated a deal with Filmora. Did you approach them or did they approach you? Any details? I approached them. That's a weird question. That's not really Filmora related, but I'll talk to you about it sometime, Danny. I approached them. That was all me. I had over 1 million views on my channel. I was driving over 100,000 views on videos that were Filmora related, and I reached out to them and said, listen, I think we can work together here. So I had the clout, even at that size. I wasn't that big a channel. I was maybe 12 or 14,000 subscribers. And I reached out to them and I said, listen, I'm moving quickly here. Things are doing well. I'd like to keep working with you, but a lot of other companies had come to me and wanted me to work with them too. So I figured whoever I worked with, I should probably make a deal with and stick with them and figure out how to make it work. That's how I did it. But boom, nice and easy, huh? Did I answer the question? I guess that was kind of Filmora related. We were talking about Filmora. Mr. SKR Kit, how to create big brain effect. Again, that's a face stretch. I'll see if I can cover something like that. It's really tricky, but I may be able to do a big head effect. Which country am I from? I'm from the United States of America. How to make custom subtitles with background like the YouTuber Magma. I don't know that one. Custom subtitle. Oh, I want to show you guys this one thing. Let me do this. This is important. Custom subtitles. There's all kinds of subtitling features. Go onto my channel. I've showed how to do lyric videos. I've showed how to make text bounce. I've showed how to change the fonts and do all that kind of stuff. One thing that everyone asks me is like, Daniel, how do I get different fonts into Filmora? And I'm like, you just load them into your computer and they will show up in Filmora. And then that seems to confuse people. But let me show you. You want me to show you really quickly how to get a new font? Find a new font? I'll do it really quickly here. Let me go to the web, and I'm going to go to free. I'm going to type in free fonts, right? So let me type in free fonts. I'll go to the upper left here, and let's see. I think it's Duff font. This one right here. Duff font, they're pretty good, DAFONT. So here's all these fonts they have. I'll go to their page, and then they have all these different types of fonts. Now, not every font will work in Filmora, but a lot of them will. So let's say, how about this one right here, right? Yesterday Dream Script, right? I am going to, over in the right, clicking on anything, over in the right, I'm trying to get I'm not getting a good full screen on this. Yesterday Dream Script, right? I clicked on it. It's going to download over here on the right. So I'm going to download this onto my computer. Right? And in full screen, you'll see down in the lower left, it's now down in my bar. See, right? Can you kind of see that? Maybe not. Right down here, it shows up in my full screen bars. It just got downloaded. So let me do this. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say, show me this in the folder it's in. And it's in my downloads folder. So here's my downloads folder. Let me see if I can get it closer. This is just stuff I've downloaded today, but it's zipped. A lot of times these font files will come zipped. So I'm going to go like this. Right click on it. And I'm going to say extract all. And I'm going to unzip it right into my downloads folder. So it's just going to pull it out. It's a zipped file. It means it's compressed. I'm going to uncompress it. And now here it is uncompressed. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this window open. This is this font, okay? Let me go full screen. While I have this window still open, I'm going to go back down into my lower left Windows search bar. And I'm just going to type in the word font. And you'll see immediately... see how it says font settings? I'm going to open the font settings window, and here's my font settings window right here. Can you see this okay? I got a lot of things going on. But here's my font settings window. Let me click it to the center so you can see it a little better. And right here, you see it just says drag and drop to install. That's all you have to do. Let me scroll down. Let me move this window out a little. I got a bunch of windows going on. So let me see if I can drag this out. Here's my unzipped files with the font I just installed. So it's called Yesterday Dream and Yesterday Dream Script. I'll click on one, hold Control, so I get them out, and I'll select the other one. And I'm going to drag these over and put them right into that, see, till it says copy. See how it wouldn't let me see? When now it says copy, boom. They are now in my system. I've now got that font that I downloaded. It's in my system. The difference here is that Filmora doesn't immediately recognize it unless I restart Filmora. So what I would have to do is I'd have to shut down Filmora. Do I want to save the project? No, let me kill that for right now. And then I will reopen Filmora. And when I reopen it and it reloads the fonts based on what I have in my computer. So if I've added new fonts into my PC, Filmora will then look through and say, well, what fonts are available? And it'll give me those fonts. There are some it doesn't. For some reason, some of them don't really show up, and I'm not sure why. Some are a little too, like if they're in a really tough language, sometimes different languages it doesn't read as well. But that last one was called Yesterday Dream Script. Is that right? You see, Yesterday Dream Script. So let's open up Filmora, and let's bring down a titles track. Well, hopefully this worked right. Let's see, title. Let's go default title right here. Stretch it out. I'm going to double left click on that in my timeline, and it says your title here. Now let me see. I'm going to go down. These are in alphabetical order, and if this one worked, I should have right here. See? Yes. Let me see. Upper left. Yesterday Dream Script is now a font. I now have that font in Filmora, and when I click it, upper right, is now turned this into this. I've now got a new font in Filmora that I can use. Can I spell? Hello there, folks. There you go. So I got a new font installed. It's as simple as that. Bring them, just find the font you want to use. Make sure it's from a safe site. Duff Font. I've used them before. They seem to be a fairly safe site. I'm not afraid of downloading from them. Some sites you don't. There's some have free fonts, some you want to pay for, some fancier ones you have to pay for. Bring them on in, put them in your PC, and you're good to go. Does that make sense? Is that an easy way to do it? Because I know a lot of people ask me that. Like, I wish I could use different fonts. You can use any font you want. Some cool ones I pay for because sometimes they're so awesome. I'm like, I'll give you $6 for this one because it's killer. I'll use this one a bunch. But yeah, that's as simple as that. That's how you change the fonts. Let me close this out. Let me check the Google form again. This is a good question. Youssef Michael or Michelle, can you tell us to track faces? Track faces. Do you mean motion track? I think we've covered that. I did this in the last live stream I showed. If you're talking about keeping the camera pinpointed on someone's face, I showed how to do that in the last live stream. And I think I might make a video on that, so stay tuned. Next question we have here. Kitty, how do you pronounce QTTY? Mo, please teach me technical Guruji zoom in rotate effect. I'm not familiar with that one, so I can't answer it effectively, though I do. I just showed you how to zoom, and in my not my most recent video, but 2 videos back during the live stream, I showed how to rotate footage. So you'd have to create, if it's just a zoom in and rotate at the same time, zoom in on your footage, create that footage first and bounce it, and then create the rotate effect that I showed how to do in the rotate. It's 2 videos back. Look at my page. Not the most recent video, but the one before I showed how to rotate. That'll answer that for you. Mr. Spider, Zach King water. Everybody wants more. It's more Zach King. I'll look and see what I can do for more Zach King. How can I get cook effects for free? I make videos and want more effects. How to get a cook effect? I don't know what cook effect means specifically. There are some free effects on Filmstocks. Definitely go to Filmstocks. They've got some free effects. If you haven't used Filmstocks, please go over there and check it out. It's filmstocks.com. Make sure that you are logged in if you want to use Filmstocks, or you won't be able to download them directly into Filmora. You have to make sure you are logged into Filmora to use them. But there are free ones. If you look here, right up top, see it says free. You can click on free, and there's a bunch of free stuff that you can find on Filmstocks as text, as overlays. Pretty cool stuff. They always have, there's more free stuff in here around. This is just some of the hot ones, but there's more free ones that you can find. One of my favorite ones, if you're in Filmstocks, check out, I use this one a lot, is the martial arts pack right here. This is also anything with that. Here's a whole bunch. Watch this. See how these all have a green dot in the upper left? These are all free. These are all free from Filmstocks. You can download any one of these. And the martial arts pack is really cool. Can you see this okay? It's got everything it shows you here you can use. All these fluttering embers, this fire effects. They got this fire in here that you can add. It's got a flaming fist one in here too. There's a bunch of these rose petals. There's a bunch of cool stuff on that one that I love that one. That's a really cool place to find free stuff. Another place you can go is to Production Crate. I've talked about that. There's free effects in here. whenever you go to production crate, let me explain so you'll know. Okay, remember we were looking, you guys, I was showing you how to get some dinosaur overlays. I was using this Velociraptor as a VFX. Can you see, let me zoom in. Can you see how these ones all have a little star on the left? That's a paid asset. That's a paid asset. But see these last ones? There's no little star. You could download this one for free, and this attacking one where he's running right at you, you can download that for free. So anything that doesn't have a star next to it is free to download and use. But I got to tell you, for the price of Production Crate, link down in the description is an affiliate link if you want to check it out. It's a really good deal. It's like, again, I think it's like $49 for a whole year, and you can use everything on the site. I like that one a lot. Let me see. Let me check another question here. I'm doing my best to keep up. Man, some of you guys have so many great questions. Gaming 360, how to make moving titles like in memes. Moving titles. You can move any piece of you can move any title by adding animation to it. So here's the one I just did with this new font. If I wanted it to move, what I would do is I would left click on that down on my timeline so it's selected, and in the upper left you see where it says animation. You have all these different animations here where you could have it do all sorts of things. Add any one of these to it by clicking on it, and it will add that. You could have it spin. You could have it like here's one I use a lot, like to the right. Let me just click on that one, and if you look up in the upper right, now what happens is when you play it, that text, because it's a long piece of text, see how long it is? It's moving slow. I'm going to shrink that down. So now it will come in, when I hit play, it'll come in and it'll move to the right if I hit play. And now it moves. So that's how you get them to move. If you want it to move faster or change the animation, you could click on the Advanced tab, and that will give you this window. And there's also the ability to click and add more animations. Some you can adjust. Let me see, to the right. Let me see, to the right. There's a few versions of to the right. Here's to the right 1. Here's to the right 2. I guess that one doesn't allow me. Some of them will allow you to control the how quickly the effect comes in, and it could be the font is stopping me. But some of them will have right here. You can control, you can slide, and it'll actually control the speed of the motion of how quickly that effect comes in. So that's the easiest way to get your text to move, is use one of the preset animated motions that comes with Filmora9. One other thing while I'm here. A lot of people ask me this question. Like, I want to do movie credits, Daniel. Like, there's no way to do movie credits. And I'm always shocked by that because there is. Let me see if I can find it. I don't use it very often, but create the scrolling movie credits where they just keep going on and on and on. I get that a lot. Like, how do I do that in Filmora? If you are in the upper left and you click on the Titles tab and see right here, it says End Credits. These are all end credits, and you can do any one of these, I think, will scroll. See this? Let me see. See this one? It just scrolls. And it scrolls based on how much text is in the window. So if you were in the left, this is, let me see. If I brought that down, it's got this preset. Let me do this. Let me go full screen. So I just dragged that down into my timeline, right? I just brought it down like there's another one. If I left click on it, whatever I got written in here is how much it's going to scroll. So if I just kept writing and I was like, hey there, I can't even type, people, how are, look at the caps all over the place. How are yous? All right. So if I did that, then in the upper right, because I kept adding lines of text, what would happen was it would scroll through this, and the more text I added, it would just keep adding it to the scroll because there's more words, and it won't stop scrolling until it's covered everything that you put in there. So you could put, you could just keep going and going and going and add something like a really long, I don't know if there's a limit. I've never reached a character limit, but it'll just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and you can do your end credits, and it'll just keep going up and up and up. I don't know if there's a continuous left to right that keeps going left to right. I think there is. But the end credit one, that's the one I get asked a lot. That's how you do that. Let me quickly check here. How to do slow motion without reducing frame. You can't. How do you do slow motion without reducing the frames per second? You can't. You can't. The only thing you could do, the minute you slow down footage, you're slowing down the frames per second. If something is filmed at 60 frames per second and you slow it down, the frames are stretched out. It's not, you can't slow something down. You could export it. You could take something that was 60 frames per second, cut it in half so it's half speed, and then it's now technically running at 30 frames per second. You could bounce that footage out at 60 frames per second. You could export it at 60, but technically you can't change what it was filmed at. You can change the export of it though. So you could export it and still keep it at 60 frames per second, but you can't change the actual frame rate of the footage itself. It is what it is based on how it was filmed. So like you couldn't just bounce it out and go, I'll send it back to 60 and I can slow it down more. It still inherently only has the frame rate that it was filmed at, no matter what you bounce it out as or export it at. There's only so many frames in the original footage that you can slow it down to before it'll get choppy on you. Real quickly right here, what do I have? How can we make Zaruda effect? I know, tick, tick, tick. It's on my list. That's an anime effect. What's the best LUT filter for cinematic videos, and how do I get my footage to be smooth? I gave away a free LUT that was really good. If you go to my channel, I think I'm going to make another one for you guys too, a better cinematic one. But if you go to my channel, this is what I keep talking about. Go to my channel, and in the upper right, you'll see that little magnifying glass. Type in the word LUT, and it'll pull up on my content. There's a free LUT pack right here. Click on that, watch the video. I showed exactly how to install LUTs, and I gave away 3 free ones, and one was called the Naturalizer, and it takes like the real digital footage like your camera takes and gives it a really muted down, more cinematic look. Use that with adding a few black bars in there, and that'll really give you like a very, instead of this real crisp digital, we know what digital footage looks like. It looks like my image, right? It just gets really bright. It takes it and mutes it all down, and it gets that real cinematic look. So yeah, the Naturalizer. There's the 3 in there. One is the one was the Naturalizer. One was a really vintage black and white that was nice and smooth, and the other one was the other one I gave away was an overlay, blue overlay filter that you can make footage that you film during the daytime. You lay this on, and it automatically makes it look like you're filming at night. That's another one. So those 3 free LUTs are really, really good. All right, listen, I went really long here, and I know there's more questions, but I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out today. I hope this answered a lot of your questions. Anything I didn't get to, ask me down in the comments section on the replay, and I promise I'll get to those questions and do my best to answer them. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I appreciate all the great questions. And if you have any more questions, we'll be doing this again soon, so I'll try to always catch up. I try to skip past the questions we've already done and get to the new ones. But I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys have a really great rest of your week, all right? Stay clean and safe out there, my friends. Peace.